Okay, so I'm inside my little air-conditioned room here where I have the Corniche. There's not a lot of room, so I only have about 2 feet of space in between where the car and the wall is to work. So I'm going to pull this bezel off and pull these light bulbs out and swap them out. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that, and I'll show you what I'm going to use. First thing I got to do is take these bezels off so I can access the headlights. This will be super easy. There's just one screw on the front of this Rolls-Royce Corniche holding this bezel on. Not much to it. Now this is a imported European model that had headlight washer nozzles on it, so it's going to have these this little plastic tube here. But we're going to take this off. It shouldn't be hard to do. The USA models didn't have the headlight washers. Okay, that's not what I had. Hold on a second, I just realized something. Is this metal or plastic? I think it's metal. There's just a couple of retaining screws that hold these headlights in. They come out really easily. There's just this little stainless bezel. We're going to take these screws out and these headlights will be right out. Now don't forget, you have low beams on the outside, high beams on the inside. This is the dual headlight system that was initiated in 1957. So all cars after 1958 had to have these dual high and low beams. They then later condensed them into single lights as well that was acceptable, but we'll go more into that later. But let me get these out. Okay, we're just going to loosen these up. This will be really easy because the way this is designed, you don't have to take them all the way off. You only have to loosen them in order to rotate this ring and take it off just like that. Although this one screw came out anyway. Okay, I'm going to set that there. And that's all there is to it. This little bezel sets aside. I mean, you can change these. These are probably maybe the original headlights. Maybe they've been changed, but probably not because they're kind of dim. These are just Wagner sealed beams. You could still buy these from the local hardware store, or not the hardware store, but the automotive store. Now looking at them, I don't know if you could see inside there, but some of the reflective mirroring has come off. You can see where they've applied that mirror to the back of the glass. So one of the reasons they're not very bright because they've lost a lot of their reflectivity, and the bulbs, the halogen bulbs, have obviously dimmed down quite a bit. So they're just not very bright. You can barely see them on the road. But we're going to fix that. So we're going to set this aside, and I'm going to show you how we're going to replace it. Okay, like most modern cars, you have these bulbs that can be put in through the back of your headlight. These are LED versions. These are the H4s, which are a high and low beam switchable. And we're going to put these in. But how do you do that? Well, that's the trick. So I've got these from, this is not a sponsored video. This is Octane Lighting. I bought these on Amazon or whatever. I'll post a link to these or similar ones that are just like them so that you can find what you're looking for. But most cars are going to have this size of headlight. Now, here's the thing, though. This was an interesting package that I particularly bought because these came with bulbs and adapters already, and then they also gave you an extra set of bulbs. And I don't understand why I have two sets of bulbs, because this already has the bulbs in them. And you can see that they both have the 3 prongs. Okay, and check it out. They came with this adapter here. Let me set this down so I can open this. And this adapter converts the 3 to a 2 prong. And the reason that is for the high beams, they use a different connector. The low beams use the 3 prong. And that's just on this particular car. Your car might be slightly different, but this is pretty much the norm. So what would happen is this would plug in to that, and then that would plug in to your other high beam. And what it does is, so obviously what's happening here is one of these is a ground, one of these is a positive. So clearly one of these is for the low beam, and one of these is for the high beam. So I'm going to say that this middle one is going to be your low beam, And this one over here is going to be your high beam, obviously based on the fact that the 2 prongs are where they are. However, let's take a look at the bulb that's in here. There's a little rubber cowl. You have this little spring-loaded clip, which could be done with just your fingers, I imagine, to access the bulb. And there's the bulb. So here's why it comes with extra bulbs. Because these ship with actual, these are probably xenon bulbs based on their blue coating. Okay? So these are going to be 6,000 K, you know, xenon halogen bulbs. So whatever these are. So this kit, it came with those light bulbs in there, but they know that nobody wants those. People want these cool LEDs. And I'm not sure how to open this box. We're going to find out here. There we go. Now, my only concern is that these physically have enough room in there to fit. But let's take a look at what's happening here. So this is your LED bulb, which has this little ballast adapter and then your plug. So we want to place that into your housing. So what they've done that's really cool is they've basically just made, just like this sealed beam, which obviously it's a sealed beam, they've made an unsealed beam. So this is a glass headlight that looks factory. It looks just like the original, which is what I wanted, right? It looks pretty much the same. I didn't want some kind of goofy dots or refocus thing or projectors. I want this thing to look like its original vintage cool self. So I don't know if there's a direction to this headlight. It looks like there is. So where the writing is. So that's going to be the front. And I don't think there's a direction for this bulb, but there might be. It's keyed. So it's keyed in a way that you can only put it in like that, right? And then we'll carefully put the spring clip back in, which holds it in very easily like that. Now, what's crazy is these bulbs get hot. There's actually little electric fans on the back of these bulbs that help try to cool the bulbs. That's pretty crazy technology. So this should just plug right in here. Simple as that. What I'm concerned about is now I've got this plug. Get that in there correctly. And what I should have done is put a little lithium grease on this to protect it from corrosion. This car's never going to get wet. This car lives in Las Vegas. It's out in the desert. It's never going to get wet. So let me see the direction of this. That's the bottom. I got to fit all this stuff back in here. So I'm going to figure, I'm hoping that everything fits in the hole. There's a lot of stuff here. There's this wiring here, this plug, and this thing. So I'm going to just try to wrap it all around. You want it to be preferably at the bottom, but there may not be room for it all. Let's see if we can get this all in here. It's kind of a mess. All right, now. This has a little notch right there to key it into place. Look at that. So I need my trim ring. Where did I put it's right there. Now, this trim ring, this is again one of those things where you wish you had a helper. This is just going to go on like this and fit right over these 2 screws. Oh, how it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Hold on. And it should rotate like that. Now remember, we don't want to rotate the headlight because it's not going to fit in the key. Hold on. There's a keyhole. Remember, there's a little notch right there that keeps the headlight upright. I'm having a little problem keeping it in there. And it may be because of the stuff that's in the back. Let me take a look. Okay. I really should have put this little screw in first. There we go. Let's go flick on the switch and see if it comes on. Oh boy, what a difference that is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, take a look at the wall there. Just the difference between that LED and the other bulb. Wow, that's a difference. You can already tell, like, not only is it just clean and brisk white, but look at the coverage, you know? So you can imagine that 30, 40 feet out, and where that other one, just a huge difference. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure this is tight, which I think it is. And I don't even think it needs any readjustment. I think it's already where it needs to be. So I'm gonna loosen up this one here, and it should be just a simple swap, just like the other one. Except we're gonna have the adapter on there for the bright light. So, you know, the first one's always the hardest. Once you kind of get the hang of it, look at that. That just comes right, look at there's some leaves and crud in there. This is interesting. This one just has these two wires. Oh, that's the label that used to be on the light, which is a Wagner 12 volt something. This doesn't even have a plug adapter. Luckily, I think I know which one is which, based on the fact that that one's got a stripe on it, and that one doesn't. So, the whole peg just broke off. That light probably wasn't even working in the first place. Unless I just broke it off now. I might, oh, there we go. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on. And I've already added the adapter. Again, this is never gonna see water. It's never gonna get wet. The only thing that I'm worried about here, what I'm concerned about, and I think I'm going to address, the fact that this hot wire here could potentially flop around, because normally on the back of the bulb, there's no way for it to ever touch this wall, but now it's moving around. So I'm going to shield it by putting on a protective sleeve. I'm going to chalk this up to experience, because I've blown a few fuses in my day. So I'm going to put this piece of heat shrink on the wire. Then I'm gonna, since I know that this one is probably spread out or needs to be spread out, I'm gonna do the same to it again. You know, you might have watched this whole video and you're like, yeah, Bob, yeah, I know how to plug in a light bulb. But it was this one little part that might have saved you a major fuse blowing problem, where you hit a bump and then all of a sudden fuse pops and you're like, what happened? Well, because what happened was you put this adapter in, you got this hot wire here on your headlight, all of a sudden you go over a pothole and then your lights pop and you're, what's going on? What happened? It was because this was flopping around in there unprotected. And then all of a sudden you've blown out a fuse, a relay, a headlight, dash lights, who knows what else is on this thing. And then all of a sudden you got no lights and you can't figure it out. What happened? And no one would ever think, oh, well, this thing is flopping around in there. But by putting a piece of heat shrink tubing right there, now that hot wire is protected. And really I should probably do it to both of them, but I'm going to assume that that's a black ground wire. We know it is. This is not a positive earth car, which those do exist, where the ground is backwards, but this is not the case on this car. So because the reason I did that was because, like I said, the back of the light bulb's protected, but now this thing is all flippity-floppity around. So look at how much stuff there is now in here. And that all has to just drape in here and all has to be stuffed in. Yep, and that would be totally arcing out right now, hitting the metal. You wouldn't know it till you went to go use it, because you're like, yeah, who would even know? It really should be wrapped even more than that, but I think it's going to be fine. And quite frankly, I don't think I will ever even one time use the bright lights in this car. Because, well, I don't know, maybe. Maybe I'll take some crazy desert run. And I'll be out in the middle of the desert. All right. Okay, I should probably test it. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's nice and bright. That's great. Oh. All right, now I can put this back together. I'll never ever use this headlight washer because it would ruin the finish. Okay. Yeah, a lot of Rolls-Royce experts reached out to me to tell me. They said, you know, Bob, your car is not an American imported car. It's it was originally made for another country and then imported into the United States because the USA cars didn't have the headlight washers, and there's also supposed to be a little arm here that brushes the lights. And also this car is carbureted, and by 1985 this would have been fuel injected. I'm so grateful that I got the carbureted one and not the Bosch fuel injected one, which is one of the reasons it runs so great. I would be upset if it was the fuel injected one, it probably wouldn't run. This screwdriver is just a little too big for this hole, for that slot, but it's in there. Okay, let me move to the other side. Okay, I'm just going to repeat the process on the other side, and we'll be cruising down the road nice and bright. Oof. It's a little rough. I think I'll just speed up the process just a little bit and do both of them at the same time, kinda. This is a lot easier to do than changing the light bulb on most modern cars. And look at that, this one has a rubber protector in there where the other one didn't. Oops, okay. We'll go ahead and start with this one. But one of the reasons I wanted the LEDs wasn't just for their clean, bright look, you know, but they use less power. And one of the problems that you find on older cars is their power systems just start to slowly break down. Basically, like all the wiring, all the connections, every little connection from this connection to the light bulb, to the relay that it goes to, through the fuse block, through the switch and the dimmer, all of those get slowly corroded and they get worse and worse over time. And it all just causes a big drain on the system. And it's harder on the alternator, harder on the battery, and it just wears it down. But by putting a lower wattage, lower power consumption and amperage drain, it's not straining as hard. It's not working as hard. It's not having to charge the battery as much. It's not having to work the alternator. So the engine runs slightly cooler. It's not under load. You're not pumping as much power through. You're not getting as much heat running through the wires. So by changing all the lights out to LED, not only are they bright and they last a long time, but I'm probably taking several hundred watts off of the strain of the system of the power consumption of the car. So it's just not using as much power. And then, you know, where you really see that being noticeable is like on a hot summer night You know, the hotter the alternator is, the harder it has to work. They work better in the cold. And so let's say it's a hot summer night, the electric fan is running, the blower motor is blowing ice cold air conditioning, the lights are on, the stereo is on, I'm sitting at a stoplight, I've got the turn signal on, which means the relay is clicking. I mean, I'm just working it to death. And that's when you start to notice, like, your lights dim with every blink of the light. You ever notice that on these? So that's when you know you're under a power strain and it needs to be repaired. Funny story about the DeLorean, which was made in Ireland, which is basically an English car. The Motorola, well, no, it wasn't the Motorola, it was the original Dulcier alternators that they put in. Well, when they tested them out in Ireland in the wintertime, they were building these cars in the winter of 1981, sending them over to the United States. Well, by the time they got to the U.S., it was summertime. Cars were arriving in California, and they were turning on the air conditioners. And guess what was happening? The cars were dying and weren't getting enough power, because when they tested the systems out in the cold, well, they were in the cold, they were putting out tons of power. They were putting out, 90 amps or whatever it was. And they found that that just wasn't enough to run the air conditioners and everything with the two fans running and the heat. So famously what had happened is, if you know who Johnny Carson is, the late night talk show host that ran the Tonight Show for many years, he was one of the early investors in the DeLorean. He gets in the car, the battery dies, the alternator fails, and he gets stuck, locked inside the car, and they had to come and and nobody had ever seen a DeLorean before. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to open the door. They had to pry him out of the car. He's never got in the car ever again. Never once drove the car again. And he was an investor, so he didn't go public bad-mouthing him. If he hadn't been an investor in the company, oh boy, he would have ripped him a new one. But anyway, I just tell you that long story to tell you that when you're dealing with these old cars, here's a 1985 old technology car, which used British Lucas wiring, which is just well known as not being great. And the English are good at certain stuff, but I'm going to say when it comes to this electrical, not so good. When it comes to things like stereos, lighting, no, not as good. Not as good. Other stuff they're pretty good at. Colonizing parts of the world, stealing all their antiquities. They're great at that shit. But electrical lighting, not so much. All right, just like the other one, I've got this little prepared heat shrink sleeve I'm going to put over the hot side here to protect it. I'm going to put that on now. And I was smart because I learned this time not to connect the light and put the adapter on first. Now, there we go. And I also learned you drape this over and it hangs right there and everything fits right in there like that. I like it. I'm gonna turn the car on because the brakes work. Put the car off. Bright lights. Well, I guess they work. Well, I hate to just throw away those perfectly good halogen, xenon, whatever those are, bulbs, but never gonna use them. Chances of me using those is pretty slim. And they just don't have a lot of value in the world. And I know somebody's watching going, man, I could have used those. I mean, if you run down to AutoZone or whatever and you buy some Sylvania, whatever, they're probably 30 bucks a pair. But I didn't pay a lot for this whole kit. Wow, that's an improvement. These lights are nice and bright now. So next project is to change out the blinkers and these running lights with LEDs so that they'll match. Now, I've got the car all the way against the wall here. It's hard to see, but I have already put LEDs in the taillights. We were going to talk about that. But basically, it was really simple. I just changed out these 1157 bulbs. And, you know, if you could see in there, they actually have much more coverage than the regular incandescent bulb, and they're so much brighter. The fact that they light up a millisecond before the others, I don't think matters, but you can see how close I've got this against the wall, but that's how I had to fit it in here. So we're going to change out the turn signals next. Okay, we're going to talk about the turn signals. Now they are an 1156 bulb. Now I had tried to do this once already, and the ones that I got before from Oxido didn't have the built-in diode resistors. So supposedly these have a built-in resistance. So what I'm talking about is that a regular incandescent bulb uses so much power that resistance is how the blinker relay module works. It detects a certain amount of resistance, and then it knows to release and flash. So that what's happening is a relay is going click, 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 and it does that by detecting how much resistance is in the bulb. When you put an LED in, you're using so little power that it doesn't even detect that there's enough resistance to even operate. So the ones that I bought didn't work because you would have had to put in a separate load resistor in the system. I didn't want to wire that in. So I bought these bulbs, which are, I have no idea what this brand is, but we'll put a link to them in the description. I got them on Amazon. And they supposedly have a built-in resistor already in there. So we'll install those, and they should flash. And hopefully they don't flash too quickly or too slowly. They'll do it at the right speed. We'll see what happens. All right, it's later. It's a couple of days later. I've gotten some of the other bulbs I've ordered. And let's see. We're going to go ahead and change these front turn signals and running lights, which should only take a moment. It's a nice overcast, rather cooler day here today in Las Vegas. So this is this little small white running light that I wanted to replace, which is a it's basically an 1156. I don't really need these gloves, but I was just doing something a minute ago. Also, I've found with these kind of lights, sometimes they can be directional even when they're not supposed to be. So let's just turn on the light and see if it comes on. Oh yeah, that's nice and bright. I like that a lot. Notice how white that is and bright. That's actually bright in the daytime compared to that one over there. That's considerably brighter. Considerably. Okay, well, I like it. So next job is these turn signals. And as I talked about, oh, the key I think has to be on for the turn signal to operate. Yep. So the idea here is these are supposed to have a built-in resistor. Oh my gosh, that's bright. Ah, that is bright as shit. That hurts your eyes. That is, I'm telling you, ridiculously bright if you stare at it. Let me put the lens on it. Wow, that's a difference compared to over there. That's a crisp, clean signal. Blink, blink, blink. And it is not affected. It has its own diode resistor in it. That's why it was so much more money. So that's going to work well because, you know, from this angle over here at the side profile, it's very, very bright. I normally would replace these rubber gaskets here. It's like a foam neoprene. But this car doesn't see water. It's not an issue. I do want to clean this out though. It's a little corroded. Because this gasket wasn't doing its job, we've got a buildup of corrosion and rust here, oxidation. So I've gotten some electronics cleaner. It's called Deoxit. I'm going to put a rag below here because it's going to run everywhere, all over the paint. It won't hurt the paint. I just don't want it on there. And we're just going to clean this out. Now the proper way to do this would be to take a brush. But a lot of times you can just clean it. We're not talking about AC electrical, and it's off right now, so there's no power running in there. You see that crud? You just get that crud out. It'll make quite a big difference. We'll do that to the turn signal as well. Turn signal is actually nice and clean. So this area here is just what was happening is water was pooling up in there is what was happening. Water was getting in there and actually pooling and then taking too long to dry out. Now the lights were working before, so they're going to work again. But they're going to work a little bit better. And by cleaning that, you're removing some of that resistance buildup in the ground that causes so many problems. Let's give it a little test. It's not blinking. Do I have the blinker on? Let's see. There we go. I like it. So I should replace this gasket. Maybe I'll order one for the future because it is split and cracked. But being in this dry desert environment, it's going to be kept indoors from now on. It's one of those things, like, you have to decide what you're going to spend all your money on. You know, you're going to spend a lot of money on these cars, and you got to decide where it's going to go. And that gasket's 15 or 20 bucks. Has to be shipped from the UK. You order them all, and you know, these $100 bills start adding up all over the place. You have to decide what's really important. If this was a regular 4-door saloon Silver Shadow and I lived somewhere where the rain was and I was going to be washing this car, but you know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to be exposing the car to weather. So it's just not an issue. I mean, maybe dust will get in there, but I doubt it. I'm not going to be doing a lot of highway driving on this car. I'm not going to be going through the desert. It's only going to go out 45 miles an hour on a boulevard for ice cream once in a while or something. There we go. So now we have these nice white running lights that are crisp with these blinkers here. If I were to simply turn on my hazards and my headlights, there you go. See, how is that working? Oh, see, look how crisp these lights are, and the nice firm blinks with no fade. You're gonna see those. Now I have to do the back. That's the hard ones. All right, in this back area, I gotta pull this jack out of the way just a bit. Set this out here. So that I can remove this panel, which it's just kind of setting in there. Like I've mentioned, a lot of these Rolls-Royces, they're just held together with like pressure and gravity. They just press things up against each other without a fastener. And that's the case with a lot of the stuff. Take the Rolex off, not because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it, but because it's in the way of me grabbing stuff. People comment all the time. They say, I can't believe you wear your Rolex while you're working on a car. It's one of the most durable watches made. And I wore the same 1990 Rolex for 15 years straight before I got that Submariner. And yeah, I mean, you scratch it up, you polish it up a little once a year. It's fine. You're not going to hurt it. All right, the trick here is that this turn signal bulb is just wedged up in there. Now, getting it out is really easy. You just reach up there and grab it. And there you go, you got it. There it is. And that's super easy. Now, the problem is putting it back, because it's held in with these little pressure point things. which are not easy to get out. Goes right in. Now, if I want to test it, I might have to press it up against the ground, simply because this is a single wire light bulb, meaning the hot lead has run to the bulb, and then it activates when it touches, when it's grounded, like that. That's how it works. So when I stick it up in here, it'll flicker because it's going to be touching the grounded part here, which is why it's screwed in. But unfortunately, I can't really show you what I'm going to have to do here because it's kind of hard to get to, I got to be honest. Oh. By the way, if this lid closes, somebody call the police with the jaws of life to get me out. Okay, thanks. By George, I think he's got it. Ow. Ow. Well, there it is. It's working. I like it. Okay. Oh. See, this would have been a good job for the blind. They could have hired blind people. Said, here, you can work at Rolls-Royce by simply feeling your way around. Maybe you could put this light bulb in this hole. They're like, all right. So I'm a blind Englishman. I can install light bulbs for Rolls-Royce. Got me a job. I don't understand why it won't go in the hole. Please, please go in the hole. I hate you, I hate you. Oh my God. My hand looks like I put it in a cheese grater. Ta-da! Oh, thank gosh. There it is, it's working. I'm so happy. Toss this back in here. Okay, well, that's putting LED headlights, LED turn signals, and running lights into a vintage 1985 Rolls-Royce. But it works on pretty much the same as all your old vehicles. I'm going to put links down in the description of this video to our Amazon affiliate page if you'd like to order any of these light bulbs or some of the things I use, like the Deox electric cleaner, or any of the tools and things that we use on our videos. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you can figure out how to use this in application of one of your vintage cars. It doesn't have to be a Rolls-Royce. It could be your old Ford Pinto, but you could probably benefit from using LED lights in your system. Hey, thanks for watching. If you love Rolls-Royce and other cool car content, you know what to do. Like, share, and follow on this page. Check out our other page, which is Bob's Prop Shop live webcam that people are watching on right now, where you can watch us working on the cars live. So go find that in the link description. Also, our talk show on Sundays, the Videobob Show. And if you're in Vegas and you want to see where all the good places to eat are, check out Bob Eats Vegas. I'm Videobob. Catch you next time.